Okay, on my end it says we're live. Can you see us?
Yeah. Yeah, we're live.
Yep, looks like it.
Oh, yep, there we are. Oh, that is really weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to our buddy read of Right Man, Right Time by Meagan Quinn. So I'm Mandy with Bestie Book Reviews, and here with me are...
Oh, I'm Jessica with the Bestie Book Reviews.
And then I'm Amber from Amber Reads Romance.
And I'm Jen from Bookmark by Jen.
All right. So I was thinking maybe we should just say what we initially thought, and I'm sure we'll have some great conversation. And maybe say how we rated it. Maybe that would be a good way to start. So for me, I was at a 3-star read. There were times where I'm like, oh, I really am enjoying this. Mm-hmm. And then Ollie would talk a while and it would be like, oh, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
How about you, Jessica? What'd you rate it as?
Me?
Just I was just going across. But
I didn't hear what you said. Me, I gave it 3.5. Yeah. It's all right.
That's the same. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on the fence. I think I ended up giving it 3.75 just because I liked Silas.
Mm.
Yeah. I liked Silas, and I liked some of the spicy scenes. So it bumped it up a little bit for me, but I was on the fence. So I'm gonna go with the 3.75.
Yeah, you had to give a little bump for the piercings.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
The dirty talk and the piercings got a little bump.
Yeah.
Waiting to like 70% was kind of like,
yeah.
I had lady blue balls going into this. It's like waiting. Okay, now they're gonna do it. Okay, now no, still not.
No, still not. We're together and we're still not gonna do it. We gotta wait.
Yeah.
When she first goes up to him in the bar and she kisses him and she like talks to him and kisses him, I'm like, ooh, this is reminding me of Stanton. Like, I loved that book
Dr.
so
Stanton.
much.
The Dr. Stanton one.
Yes.
I've read that one.
That's it.
Yeah, I like it.
You really
love T.L. Swan.
It's good. Probably it's like up there with some of my favorites.
Really?
She goes up to him in a bar and like just kisses him, and it's hilarious after that. And so I'm like, ooh, I'm liking this. Like, this is really good. And then Ollie keeps talking, and I'm just like, oh, she's a little annoying and
a little.
Yeah.
It's like the thing I can't stand with rom-com things is like the over-the-top quirky heroine. It's like, we get it. We get it.
I literally wrote down, I was like, okay, so you took it one step too far and then you rolled down a hill. Like, stop. Just stop. You're not
like her story on how they meet after they discuss what the story is going to be, a basic story, and then she just keeps going, and it's so stupid. And she's like, oh, and they got I got their attention, and she just makes him look like an idiot, and she thinks she's funny, and like, I'm just like, this is stupid. Like,
journalist, like, you're a journalism major, and
you should be able to talk to people.
On the side.
And I know that a book isn't necessarily vibing with me when I pick out the little things to nitpick, because when those things happen, I was on the phone with Mandy going, Vancouver doesn't have a zoo. It's in Aldergrove. It's an hour and a half away, and they don't have a moose, and they don't have donkeys
or a donkey.
No,
I'm like, do they have donkeys at the zoo? I don't.
Who has donkeys?
Not at the
I don't think I live in San Diego. I don't know about donkeys. They're a big hit there.
No.
Maybe in the petting zoo section.
Yeah. Maybe in the kids area.
No. The only zoo that I've ever been to with a moose was in Anchorage. So no. Yeah.
Well, and then her like, my issue too was like, I love age gap but this age gap didn't even make sense.
No.
And like, and they made it with the way she talked and said things made her come off so young and annoying, where it's like when he's calling her babe and she's like, oh, fart face, or her weird, whatever, like weird thing she was going to do. And I'm like, she is so like, she was just a lot. I liked Silas.
Yeah.
But, and she kind of grew on me as I read the book, but I mean, it was a lot like to kind of overcome, but I don't know.
Feel like she was like a different person sometimes. Like after they got together, she mellowed out and then was almost different. And I'm like, wait, I mean, I'm glad, but that's not who you were. Like, how all of a sudden you change? I don't know. She was too much for me. Like, I was just like, I don't like her. I'm trying to like her, but I don't like her. I thought for sure she would redeem herself when we met Sarah. I was like, okay, you're going to redeem yourself whenever it is that we meet Sarah. And I knew that was coming, but even that first encounter, I was like, a miss.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
She was very to be dating somebody 10 years older than her. She was very immature.
Yeah.
Because that was my thing. I was like, what does a 31-year-old see in her then? I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking. Thank you. I was
like going to a dorms, like a pro hockey player wants to go to a dorm room. No way.
No.
Like,
well, we had that conversation.
Yeah, that should have been handled because I'm like you. I love age gap. And part of what I love about it is when it's kind of that angsty, like forbidden taboo. And the fact that she lived in the dorms could have been handled so differently, like where he's like, okay, I'm pulling up to her house. She has to come out. I'm not going to go up to the dorm. Like, weird.
Right.
And instead he still does it. And there's like a little tiny mention of it, but it's really never made into that big of a deal, which I think it would be a huge deal in real life.
Well, not only
like
that,
he would have gotten noticed.
You can't just walk in most dorms. You can't just walk in the door. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
that way. Remember, you have to have a badge or something.
Yeah.
Or sign.
Well, he pretended he had was a DoorDash or something, but then he never came back down because he spent the night there. I'm like, well,
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
What kind of DoorDash are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, I was telling Mandy, most college age kids that go into BC that are U.S. citizens live in our town or in the town that's 20 minutes south of us and commute. They don't get some get a student visa. Especially if you're going a long way, but most of them, everybody I know lives here, goes across the border every day to class.
Yeah.
So
I think though for the book, like that she really wanted her to have that student visa. So when she loses the internship and can't finish everything, she has to leave.
Well, you
so
still have to have you still have to have a student visa because you're going across to be a student. You're a student at that college. So you still have to have that. But I get where she was coming from. I get it. And I can't be that critical. It's just when you're
picking a book.
When you're and you're around it all the time, you're like, that's not how that typically works.
Yeah.
But again, when I can nitpick those little things is when I know that it's just not working for me.
I feel that. Because I wrote too, because I love the age gap. Like that is my favorite trope. And she was like, ew, you're in your 30s. I'm like, stop.
Yeah, and calling him old, I'm like, hey, I'm way over 30.
Wait,
shut up.
I'm like, what is the big deal? I don't get it because I mean, typically, it's not even a big deal. And
no,
of them, I don't know.
No. We talk about this all the time because my husband's 14 years older than me. So, and Mandy's is 13,
12.
12. If you're gonna do an age gap, you got to do it big enough to be a big deal.
Matter.
Yeah.
10 to me is like, if she was in high school, sure, then it's a bad thing. But at 21, no.
I mean, she definitely acted younger, so
there's really not a lot of taboo there at 21.
Yeah.
No.
Unless they really would have played up the fact that she's a college student and living in the dorms, but that just almost felt like an afterthought. Kind of. It was more.
Yeah, we read the Off Balance series where there's like actual taboo, and we read such taboo stuff that it's like when we read that we're like, this is nothing. Like this is not taboo.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, do I read too much? Age gap?
Yeah. Do I read too dark?
That's what I think.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I think that could be part of our problem, but still, you're going to have to make it work because a lot of us read both,
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
use it as a palate cleanser. So, yeah.
Well, my thing too was I felt like this book was really long for what it was. I'm like, you could have taken 100 pages out of it and it would have been better. I'm like, you know, it was just like dragging on and on the same kind of situations over and over of him like pushing her away, her trying to like pursue him. And I'm just like, okay, like I'm bored. You know, and then I don't like the like I can handle the other woman drama or that, but I'm sick of authors using the evil stereotype female coworker or the evil ex, you know, and it was like 2 of them in this. And it was just so over the top. I was like, okay, you know, I just see this all the time in books. So that kind of bugged me. But
yeah.
I was confused by how, so she had supposedly been with Yanni for a long time, and Yanni didn't like sex or anything like that. But yet she seemed to be like, she talked about how she loves to give BJs and all this,
yes,
like all the time. But yet she seemed to not have any sort of experience in her background with any of it, and it kept coming up over and over again. And I'm like, this is like one time mention of it, I probably would have just been like, okay, whatever, not thought about it. But it kept getting brought up over and over again, and I'm like, but wait, we're being told like this is your only real relationship that you've had, and that you weren't messing around with other people. So that just felt weird to me.
That was the same thing I noticed. I was like confused. I'm like, okay, we are so sex positive, know what you want sexually, and are all about it, and talk about blowjobs like a million times and how you love them. You're waiting for it, but your ex-boyfriend didn't really let you do that. So then how are you so experienced that you love it?
Yeah. How do you know you love it then?
Yeah.
How
are you so experienced?
How are you that good?
Exactly. How are you that good?
Experience.
I know. It's like, I wish I was that good, right? Never doing it before, right from the get-go.
How do you know?
Like, oh.
Yes.
Taking a Jacob's ladder, you know? Like,
speaking of that, her thing was he has to have a piercing. Like if he doesn't have a piercing, I'm going to be really surprised.
yes.
What about him makes you think that he had that? Because nothing prior to him, you know, from his getting to know him, I never thought.
No. Normally,
no, it was like her friend brought it up too, but I was like,
but why?
I wouldn't look at a guy and go, oh, he has a piercing.
Yeah, and normally, especially in books, they're the bad boys, right? They mentioned he had tattoos, and they say, oh, well, because I saw the gay best friend was like, oh, tattoos, so he's got to have a piercing.
Why? Yeah.
Why?
Most guys aren't going to be able to do that. Like
most guys don't. No.
But he also was in a weird sexual relationship too, because nothing, like you said, about his personality makes us think that. Like if you're writing a rock star lead singer who's out partying all the time, that flows with that. But for him, he had been with Sarah since they were in high school, and he actually says that he's only had a few encounters since they broke up in those 2 years. So why would he be pierced? Because it's very like laid out very clear that she did not like having sex with him, even though he found her in a very interesting situation. So I thought, I'm like, that feels weird to me too.
None of it makes sense. Like, it's like she just kind of threw everything in that she wanted to throw in, and it didn't make sense for the characters at all.
It's like she took a poll from her listeners or her readers, and she's like, what do you want to see in the book? And then she just threw it all in there because it didn't work. No.
Because it had a lot of tropes that would draw me in. Like, I love fake dating. I love age gap. I love hockey romance. But then all of it together was just this jumbled mess that like went on for 400 something pages that I'm like, oh, I don't know.
It was.
When I am reading those, I like to be reading books where I don't realize all the tropes are happening.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, and I was at the same time I was reading. I had to pause my other book to get this one read, and I did. It was a dark hockey romance.
Oh,
so the other one, and I was like, am I not liking it because I really want to get back to the other one that's got really what I wanted to have in it?
Yeah.
Or is it the book? But I do think it was the book. I mean, I loved the other one. So, but it just,
What was the other one? Like, I want to
The
know.
other one, I put it in my Goodreads this morning.
Okay, I'll look.
It's by like S. Mallory or something. I'll send it to you guys. I'll look it up here. Let me look.
So this was my first Meagan Quinn book, and I'm curious if you guys have read yours as well.
Mine as well. I've never read her before because I kind of was like iffy on going into the, like, you know, her covers, how they look, or the rom-comming. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I've never read her. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that cover at all.
No.
Mm-mm.
Jessica and I, when we were looking for the books, Jessica kind of took the lead, and I'm like, well, let's just look for new releases. I think that would, work well for this.
Yeah.
So she picked them out. And then when I saw this cover, I'm like, Jessica, I cannot believe you suggested this because she hates.
I do. Well,
hates
and I really
these.
wanted The Nanny, which I can't remember the author of that one, but it just came out like 2 days ago. A couple days ago. I actually listened to it. And so I
was
really
that
want
the LJ Shen one, or is it the other? Oh, okay.
It's somebody who I haven't read before. But I was like, well, I wanted to read that one, but we didn't have a lot of time. Now I have to look up and see what book it is, but we just didn't have a lot of time to do it. So that's why.
Hi, Jessica. We have a Jessica joining us.
Hey.
Hey.
Hold on, I've got it right here. If my Kindle would cooperate. It is by. I saw it because I was on the Meet Cute bookstore, and they had it as like a new release coming out, and you could pre-order it signed by the author from Meet Cute Bookshop. And then I was like, oh, what is this? Laura Ferguson. So it's The Nanny by Laura Ferguson. So that's what I really wanted us to read. At first, it's like she has an OnlyFans page that she's gotten out of, and then she becomes a nanny for a single dad.
That sounds good.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so I'm like 30% into it. Okay, so the dark hockey book that I did read, though, is called Brutal Obsession by S. Mastery. So this is, there's the cover.
I've seen that. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Put that on my.
That's more of my type of cover right there.
Yes.
But it is dark. I mean, we're talking dub con, non-con.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So,
I either put that on my Goodreads or my Amazon, and I was like, oh yes.
I listened.
Yeah, I think we got to read a dark romance.
Yeah.
For like the next ones.
Yes.
Some dubious consent, non-consent.
When she sent me that picture, she's like, this is what I'm reading now. And I'm like, that is a well-defined cover.
that was better. That's a better cover.
It's a way better cover. Yes.
I'm like, I not only do I not like the cover, but I thought the name, the title. I'm like, am I really nitpicking at this point? But I wasn't too. I mean, I get the title, I get it, but I feel like we could have come up with something a little bit better.
I kept messing it up when I was trying to just talk about it. I was like, right, man. Wait, what? Like,
I kept
right time.
Thing. Yeah. Well, another thing too is we're gonna meet the author Meagan Quinn. Yeah, this coming weekend, and so we thought, okay, well, cool, we're gonna meet her, so we're probably gonna like it. Yeah, and it was a book that the same day the book came out, the audio came out too, and normally that happens with books that they expect to be bigger releases,
right?
So I was like, oh, it's probably great. Meagan Quinn's a name that I've heard of. She's mainstream.
Yeah. Did you guys listen to it on audiobook, or did you read it physically?
I did, and I listened to it at top speed. Like, it was over 300.
Trying to rush through it.
3.5.
I was reading it on my Kindle, and I was wishing I had gotten it, the audiobook kind of thing. I was like,
Yep.
I kept putting it down because I'm like, it's gotta get.
I read it.
Yeah, I read it. I Kindle read it, but
yeah,
gotta get better. But and then like one thing, a couple things that irritated me too is the names. Like, why are we have Posey?
They're so weird.
Pacey. Like, why are there so many characters that have very similar names? And then it wasn't until, what was it, like 70 or 80% in that I found out that Holmes is,
it was one that was like Posey and then Pacey or something. And that was his last name. And I was like, wait, I thought this was Pacey that they were talking about the whole time.
There's two of them, but then there's one that he has a nickname. Then there's Hornsby, and then Holmes is also Halsey. And I didn't realize that until his crush came around, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So
who are these people?
Yeah, I'm like,
I literally had to highlight the beginning where they did each introduction on and explained each guy who they were, because I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to have read this previous books, but I'm definitely not going to do that.
When she says it can be read as a standalone, then don't do things like that to confuse people who are going in to read it as a standalone. But I did that a week or so ago. I read a book that was an Emma Jones book. And all the guys in the group, their names started with a K. And I was so confused. It's the same thing. You've got to mix it up. I get where you were going. Yeah. But you've got to mix it up because we just get confused. So
that was something. And then also I was like, okay, so I kept thinking that I kept calling, I know it's Mr. Mustard, but I kept calling him Colonel Mustard. I'm like, all right, so who is he? Because I felt like he had something, like he was going to come out as something else, or maybe he was going to be the reason of the third act breakup or third act conflict or something. But I'm like, who is this Colonel Mustard person? Like,
just a random guy.
Yeah, but you keep talking about him, so I'm like, well, then who is he? Nobody.
Right. Nobody.
I found her gay friend more entertaining and cared more about him being in the relationship with the other hockey player than I did about her. I was like, oh, I want their story, you know?
Yes.
But I'm like, and I did okay, because I was like, okay, let me write the things I liked and the things I didn't like. And that's when I kind of had to be like, I was going to give it 4 stars to be nice kind of, but then when I listed everything I didn't like, I was like, no, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did like was his friends. Mm-hmm. But and her gay friend and all that. But the thing that I didn't like against Silas was he's has this great group of friends that are all invested in him, and that's why he wants a fake girlfriend so they get off his back. And he had never told anybody what his girlfriend did to him and how she cheated on him and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like it just kind of made him so shut off when these guys should have known as your ride or die guys, So I didn't like that.
And you would have told them. They would have if you're that close. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
I know that this is guys, but guys are the same way.
Yeah.
It goes to them for everything else.
Yeah, and then we find out later on that his ex, Sarah, whatever her name was, had tried to get back with him through the summer, but we hear about that through a conversation.
But nothing.
But
see, I think that is in probably one of the other books. I think that is
probably
when whoever it was that met the guy in the summertime whenever he was all pissed off that he came to the cabin. I feel like that is incorporated.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just.
But I was like, but what did she do to try? What happened then? What did she do to try to get him back? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to read that. It's a standalone. Tell me.
Yeah.
Yes. Give me a summary. Give me a summary.
Give me one paragraph explaining what happened, then that's it.
4 pages.
How about we just address that he is this famous, well-paid hockey player who has a lot of money, who just basically gave a stranger a key to his apartment to come and go as she pleases.
Yes.
Dude.
She could have been a stalker and stolen his stuff.
Yeah. He's like, I have nothing to hide. I'm like, your millions.
But then he doesn't trust anybody. He won't let anybody in, but he'll let her come into his house by herself.
That could have been written differently. It could have just been he has at the complex he lives in, they have this amazing gym, so he gets paid for that. And
but then we wouldn't have their private sauna scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I also felt like, okay, so when she's a journalist and you're going to be working, I mean, she's lifestyle, so she's probably going to be working with people that are a little bit more famous as well. And the fact that you don't take into consideration that you are dating a well-known person, whether you think he's well-known or not, you need to take that into consideration as far as his public image. You're doing this, you're off the wall, crazy commentary. You have to think about anything that you do, with the whole short scene. She was pissed off about that. She's wearing these short shorts. He's saying that because he has a public image.
Yes.
Stop being a child. go change damn shorts.
Yeah.
And let's be
Yeah.
honest. If you live in Canada and a place that has a Canadian team, you're gonna know who they are.
Yeah. Even if you don't watch, even if you don't watch a sport where you're at, you know who the football players are that are the stars on like your team, if your city's team. It's just it's so annoying. And then to like not even acknowledge any of like, oh well, I don't watch hockey. I don't care about hockey. It's like, well, yeah, you're living in a place that does really care about hockey.
Yeah. We're on the border. I have my Canucks jersey on. Like, this is a thing. Okay, it's a thing here. My son played hockey until he was 11. He had a brain tumor, so we had to not anymore after that. But like, that's a thing. There's the players actually live here. Like, it's a thing here. I don't know where Meagan Quinn is from, but I just have this thing about if you're gonna write about a demographic, then you really need to know about it.
You should be living there and know it.
Yes.
Does Elsie Silver live in Canada?
Yes.
Because you can, like, I don't know anything about, but I feel like her stuff's authentic when I read her book.
Actually lives right across the border from me. I'm not sure where in the Vancouver area, but she's right here. I was like, maybe you could stop on the way down to live in Seattle this week and we could carpool together.
For real.
But still, I mean, she said she was coming from the BC area. So she could have grown up on that other side of the country and stuff as well. But at least you're in the right country. So yeah. But right now she lives in Vancouver. So, and she does it right. I mean, if I was going to write a book, it would be probably in Washington or Alaska because those are the states I've lived in.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Like, write what you know.
Exactly. By the way, she really, like, I was ready to turn it off when she started talking about the mustard and mayonnaise because that is what I do. Okay. So that
is a thing. She got that right.
It is a thing, but still, it's just, it's a me thing. You're knocking my mustard and mayonnaise. Come on.
So maybe the takeaway for this book is that the four of us really don't like mainstream authors.
I think so.
I just wasn't a big fan of this one. I just wasn't a fan of her. And it was really hard for me to turn that around. And then, you know, the big third act thing, like that
got me.
It wasn't as bad as I thought as far as some of the conflicts, but what really kind of irritated me was I felt like, why is Silas being always the one that's groveling? Always one I felt like she should have been the one groveling. He should have been the one to go after him, not him to her. I get what he did, but she's never apologized throughout the whole thing.
No.
They're in this mess because of you anyway.
Yeah, and I felt that if they just communicated,
oh my god,
that's the thing. It drives me nuts. Why don't your characters communicate?
I mean, I get we wouldn't have a story if that was the case, but like a little bit.
Well, I feel like it's like the lazy third act conflict or breakup that authors do now, and it's like I liked how at first I was like, oh, cool, they're doing something different when she told him right away what the article was going to be about. And I'm not going to do it, and I'm like, okay, cool. So we're not going to have this dumb article thing come out. And it's so over the top that somebody else would listen to you, eavesdrop on you, happen to hear something, then add this into a story, and that guy would be like that guy that runs that paper or whatever was going to be okay with that. And it just was over the top. And so I was like, oh, we're actually going to do it. Like I thought we were going to have something different. And the whole time I'm waiting, I'm like, here we go. It's going to happen. And it just dragged on to get to like the reveal. And I'm like, and then he just completely shut down and was like, get the hell out of my life. I don't want to talk to you, and didn't listen to her. But then he listened to his ex-girlfriend that cheated on him when she's like, oh, it wasn't me. And he like was like, oh, okay. And like totally understanding. And I'm like, what?
And I'll make sure you don't lose your job. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
wrong. I wanted a little bit more from Ollie. Like I wanted her to apologize a little bit more, because it was just, throughout the whole book, anytime that happened, anything that happened, he was the one that was apologizing. And I just wanted, maybe it was,
I thought she was going to make like the big gesture. You know, I wanted a big gesture from her. Like when she went to those people like that ran their own company, I thought she was going to go give them the full story and do this big gesture for him, not go for a job.
That's what I thought. I was like, get the job and then do the big thing and kind of do like,
a big reveal about,
you know, where she wrote that article and got Ben back. Like that's what I was thinking, was she was going to write this article and show him. instead of
Exactly.
him coming after her. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I
No.
wanted it to be the other way around.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
it was some big literary person, agent, the guy that they were working for, right? He's supposed to be like
Yeah.
the best of the best, the top of the top. He is not going to let some lowly intern
Yes.
edit and add in hearsay that's not
Mhm.
backed up as factual. That's in a smear campaign. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Just
It
because
would-
That'll ruin his career. Which I'm
Mhm.
like, why didn't she record him when she went in there and confronted him? You record him, boom, here you go, here's the proof. There was like a million other ways this could have gone. And it was, and by the way, just showing up at this huge, you know, other place, sitting down in the front area all day and then talking to the guy, and they're going to offer you a job without a degree, without anything, you know, to her name. I'm like, this is just so, it's ridiculous.
After it really looks like she totally screwed Silas over too. Like, I
Mhm.
don't think that he truly would have given her the time of day to make the phone call to find out that
Yeah.
it wasn't her. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, he wouldn't even want to be associated with her.
Right.
Man, I really thought I was on my lonesome boat over here.
Me too. I kept
Nope.
looking at your guys' Goodreads. I'm like, what are they gonna give it? What are they gonna give it? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I wrote
I
this
was like
long
rolling
scathing
along
review.
over here all by myself. Like, oh my God, does anybody?
know.
I just want to punch her in the face. Please.
Well, then when you guys were messaging, just you're like, oh, we want to talk about it. I could just tell from the tone. I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, I got notes.
Yep.
Mm.
I was
We were
really
not
hopeful
thinking
going
positive.
in though. Like,
Oh, yeah, so was I.
Mhm.
I
Then
really thought
Ollie
her
just
meet cute was
keeps
totally
talking.
cute until she opened her mouth and was like,
you know,
I'm not giving you the time of day.
Mhm.
Bitch, you went after, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that first interaction where she kisses him and he says,
You
oh, you owe
assaulted
me. And then she
him.
gets irritated. She's like, what do I owe you? Like, I don't gotta. And he's like,
You kissed me.
you kissed
Yeah.
me.
yeah.
That
You
should have told us
assaulted me.
everything right there.
Yeah.
Ew, you're 31.
You're so old.
Okay, but I do have to say, it's rare that the one thing I felt that she did that was really cool is rarely in the sex scenes do we ever get toys involved. And couples.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. I do have the one little critique though, that the toy they used together, if he was built as she said he was,
Oh,
it would
dear
cut off the
God,
blood flow.
Jessica.
It wouldn't work. Trust me, it wouldn't work. But
I love that. I even
I
said
love
the
that they
same
had
thing.
that.
I have it in my notes. I was like, where are the toys? And I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yes, it is.
And I love that she
Bring it
normalized
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
There was actually a time when I paused it and I looked over at my husband and I was like, so this is what they're doing. Can we?
I messaged my husband and I was like, so the character in my book has a Jacob's ladder. And he was like, oh, hell no.
No.
That's mine.
Okay.
Fun.
It's funny that you guys talk to your husbands about stuff like this because I do with my husband as well. And this was in a different book. And they're making toast and he's talking about this French butter dish and how you can keep butter out on the counter with this butter dish and it's really easily spreadable. I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, I was making toast and I was like, hey, in my book, they have this French butter dish. And my husband's like, oh my gosh, what weird sex thing is this? And I'm like, it's a real butter dish.
It's not a sex scene. My son always makes fun of me because he'll be like, the stuff that, like the things in your books, because I'll randomly tell him little things. Yeah, he's not young or anything. He's 19. So it's not.
Yeah.
But like one of my favorite books, Untouchable, he'll be like, oh my God, like, you know, the books that you read. And then I brought up the Jacob's Ladder and he didn't know what it was. So I explained it. He goes, why would anyone do that?
That's
like,
what my
no.
husband says.
Yeah. Mine's like, oh, hell no. I'm like, it could be fun. He's like, well, maybe for you. I'm like, well, who else would it be?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm like, it's for the woman. It's for the woman.
But there's little things that happen in books that I ask my husband, I'm like, does this really happen? Does it twitch in your pants? And he's like, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, okay, but they all say that it does.
All
Every
of them.
book
Yeah.
says that it
All of
does,
them.
So does
What,
it?
like, that's like one of my pet, like you have a million pet peeves. Like one of mine is like in every book where it's like her nipples are hard from like,
And her boobs
coming
are
out.
heavy.
Yeah, it's like my nipples aren't just churning hard from looking at like a hot guy and they're poking through my shirt. Like every book, like when it comes up,
No,
I go,
it's
oh.
cold. That's
And the
why they're
heavy.
feeling.
You're right, the heavy. The only time they've ever been heavy is when I was breastfeeding.
The
Yeah.
only time mine have been heavy is now when I can't feel them. They're always heavy. But
Yeah.
that's different. That's because mine are something else. Or when I had my tissue expanders, it felt like I had snow globes attached. That was the only time in breastfeeding that they felt heavy.
Never
Yeah.
when you're walking by a man.
Exactly. No, that doesn't happen.
They don't just go bling like when a hot guy's around. Like,
Oh, he's hot.
oh, I'm so horny. My nipples, like it just drives me nuts.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
just little things. And I get it. Like the woman I work with was, I think I told you guys, she used to be an editor for a publishing house in Seattle. And so she edited books all the time. And so she's like, they're trying to show on page that there's that arousal there, and it's really hard, She's like, so I get it, because we talk about this at work all the time. I'll pause my book and be like, oh my gosh, and then I tell her and we laugh about it, and she's like, how else are they supposed to tell you? So I do get that. It's just,
I get it.
it's weird.
Yeah. It's
because I'm like, what is wrong with me?
yeah, that doesn't happen to me.
Like, trying to think, well, did it happen when I was younger? No. Sorry. No.
Yeah, these heroines have it pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of us. So yeah.
Yeah, or they can always come at the same time, or don't.
They can always
it's like, oh wow.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. When they tell you when to come and you come, it's like, man, I wish I had this magic ability.
I know. I tell my husband, try that. Maybe it'll work someday.
Yeah. Just tell me when to do it.
Just tell me when. I just need that instruction. That's it.
Yeah.
Now every virgin gets it as well. Every virgin can get off.
Yes.
Every
time. And everybody is always sopping wet.
Mm-hmm.
Soaking. Yes.
Soaking through everything.
At all. Yes.
Like, I don't think I've ever met a virgin that had an orgasm their first time having sex. Yeah. And all these books, it's like, no.
First time. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
So. I mean, I get it. I mean, because I enjoy them. I mean, I'm going to continue reading it, but it's just like, all right, you guys, come on.
Yeah.
I
love that. I listen to, Jessamine reads romance, where she has that podcast with her aunt. And I listened to a whole episode where it was like pet peeves in books. And it was so funny. I was like, and they did like 2 different episodes because there's so many pet peeves.
Mm-hmm. But her aunt is an author. Right?
Yeah, Juliet Cross.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I started listening to that podcast just recently. And I mean, they don't do as much anymore because she's, I think, busy, but I loved it. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Kay Webster and Misty Walker have a podcast too, where they
do?
Yes, they do.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love Kay Webster.
Me too. And Misty Walker is just as good. I mean, she's not as taboo, but they collab on a lot of books, so I like them both. But yeah, and I think you can find a lot of them on YouTube.
That's cool.
Yeah, or at least on. I know you can from Kay's website too. So yeah.
I was just on there. I didn't see that. I don't think I went over to that tab.
Mandy, you found them before. Was it on YouTube or on her website?
Where did I think I might have found it on YouTube, actually.
It might be. I'll have to look and tell you girls where it's at.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You should have just read a Kay Webster book.
I know. I was going to say we should read a super taboo banned book. We could reread Wild or Hail or something.
Yes.
I know. I kind of wanted to reread Untouchable again because I was just talking about it in a couple of videos, and I was like, I kind of want to reread this, because I just love Carter Mahoney.
Well, and I read that my first like when I first got into reading. It was one of the it was early on. So it's been 3 years since I read it. So I'm all for rereading that. Mandy hasn't read that yet.
I haven't.
Mm-mm. Have you
She's
read
gotta
it?
get past that first few
Which one
chapters.
are we talking about? Untouchable or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
No. Mandy and I are in the same boat.
Yeah. That would be
That one. But I do know what you're talking about though, because I was researching for my next video and every single one I'm like, oh my God, I want to reread this book now. I want to reread this book now.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
like I did like a taboo thing that I haven't posted yet, but I was like, man, I really want to reread these. Like as I'm talking about them, I'm like, because I don't reread a lot because I'm like always planning all these books. And I'm like, I need to take the time. Tootsie, stop. Sorry, my cat's scratching.
No.
I'm like, I need to take the time and actually do rereads a little bit more.
I do it when I need, like when I've read something that I know would put me into a book slump, then I do a reread of books. But every time Mandy and I make a video, I'm like, oh, I want to reread that. Oh, I want to reread that. So
do you guys read a lot of historical romance? Or is it more contemporary? That was my goal this year, was to try to read more, because I was like, oh, maybe we could read a historical romance, but if you guys are into them, then
I mean, I will, but it's so hard. A lot of them are in third person, which is harder to.
That's the part.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I can't. That's automatically like I feel bad, but I don't think that I've come across one quite yet where I have to bump like at least to have a point off or point because it's just I like to be in the mind of
Well, I did this week. I read When the Duke Met His Match by it's going around, right? It's the big one right now. That one was actually really good. I mean, I was sucked in from the get-go. So
is it third person?
Yeah, it's by like Stacy
Reed,
I think.
I just discovered her. Like, it was weird because Jen from the Book Refuge had like an interview with her. And so I was like, I've never even read anything of hers. So I like asked, what's the best one that you could recommend? And she said Matter of Temptation. And that was like a 6-star read for me. Like I fell in love with it. So like, I just started reading her books. I mean, I just gave one a 3-star though. So, but it had a horrible narrator. She was like, that's a problem. Like so breathy and then drawing out each word. And it was like, I can't, like the whole book, I was going crazy. So it could have been the narrator.
Yeah.
That could have been a 3-star.
The narrator can make it or break it.
Yeah, that happens.
I
just read one where every time, if she was like talking and she would go through a few different sentences, it was fine. But every time she would take a breath, you could hear, so and I was just, that's all I could hear. I couldn't even hear the story anymore. Yeah. That's all I could hear.
Yeah. Like I had it sped up super fast, like as fast as it could go, because it was like, she would say a word so long. I can't even explain it. I'm like, I don't think I can ever listen to another book with this narrator.
It's trying to be sultry.
She's trying to be sultry, and she's got the British accent that she's like really playing up, and like when the sex scenes, it was even worse. And I'm like, I can't. I can't with this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, so we have read. I think we actually just put out our historical recommendation video.
Oh yeah.
A lot of ours are more time travel, like traveling back, because we like that. But But yeah,
time travel. Yeah.
I mean, there's more than that. They're all historical, but
yeah.
So,
historical. Yeah, I gotta try it. Historical.
You gotta find the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like a little bit of the darker historical romance authors, like Lorraine Heath can do kind of weird stuff, or Kerrigan Byrne. She has like more darker like subject matter, and like, so I like those because they're not so cutesy and like surface level to me. So, and I do really like Lisa Kleypas. I know everybody does, but
I don't.
I mean, I don't like everyone, but like some of them are like my favorite. Where I love Saint Vincent. So Sebastian St. Vincent, and he's like the bad guy, but then he gets redeemed in like another book. But
we all like the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Bad guy.
So of course.
Yeah. No, we I tried the Kerrigan Byrne, the Highway. Was it the Highwayman that everybody likes?
Yeah.
I've
You didn't
tried
like
it 3
it?
different times, and I get not even halfway through it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so done. And it could be the narrators because I'm listening
Yeah.
to the video. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's where I'm able to listen to a lot more, because it's like a lot of historicals, like I do a lot of Kindle Unlimited, and most of the historicals are on there. So I was like, I'm not reading any of these. And so I do any play I have, and they have tons of historical, and that's where I'll mostly listen to historical romances, because I can actually get them on any play instead of paying for the book.
right.
So I like that, but that's kind of
you
how I'm
guys-
able to do more.
Have you guys read Callie Reed, her Surviving
No.
Time series?
No.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, as soon as we're done with this, you need to go read it.
Yeah, it's right here. So this one is one of the first ones that Mandy read that I made her read. But this girl travels back from our time to the early 1900s. But it's a 3-book series, and oh my gosh,
It is the best.
It's in first person, so that's,
cool.
That's good. It's not in third person, but it's one where every time, like, that is top thing that either one of us would recommend, or both of us recommend all the time. But I've read it, like reread it like 4 or 5 times, and the emotions are still there. When I read it, like, I know how this is going to end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I open it up, I'm still get anxious when I need to be anxious, and just loved it so good. So I would start there if you haven't read historical, because it'll give you a little feel.
Okay.
Oh, it is
Okay.
so good.
But it's so good.
Anything by Callie Reed is good, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll try that.
I don't think I've ever read Talia. Is it Talia or Callia?
No,
Callia.
Callia is Calia.
Oh, okay.
She's
I'll have to look them up.
super underrated.
Yeah.
Cool.
She takes a while to write her books. I know she's got like a high demanding job of some kind, because she talks about that. And it took like 2 years to get the last book out of her that we just did. But the amount of detail that goes into the books, like she talks about, when you're going back into the early 1900s, we didn't live back then. We don't know how things are, but like she gives you like the details in the room that you wouldn't. I know some people are like, oh, I hate that. And I'm like, no, I need that, because my brain doesn't see that. But she does have a Pinterest board for each book where you can see where the dresses that
cool.
she had the girls in, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I like about like the Outlander series, is some people don't like it because those books are super thick.
Right.
But like she goes so deep into like, the setting, the time, and everything. So I mean, it's not technically, I don't know if they call it a romance or like historical fiction. I don't know, because I think it's got one of the biggest romances of all time. But
a lot of people do.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, that's what I like about those, because they are longer. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't really want to go into the next one, because they're thick.
I've read just the first Outlander book, and I like Callie Reed's Surviving Trace better than I like Outlander.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, and she based like the estate where they live. They call it Belgrave, but it's based on. It's in South Carolina, and she has on her Pinterest board. She has it, but it's based off of a old plantation that was actually down there, so you can see what it looked like back day. So, yeah, so cool, it's so good. But yeah,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, you have to. It's so good. Yeah, and they now have. When I first read it, there was an audio. There's audio now. I can't remember who the male narrator is, but he's a good one.
Good one. So, maybe I'll check it out on Audible then.
It's worth it.
Yeah, that would be a good one to do,
especially because they speak French a couple times. Like his family is French, so he'll speak it, and
oh wow.
And his name is Etienne, which is a French name, and I had to like keep Googling it the first time I read it. It's like, how do you say this? How do you say his name? So yeah, little things like that. But yeah, so yeah.
Okay, we are coming up on almost 50 minutes. So my final question for this is, would you read another Meagan Quinn book after this?
I would. I would. Because I mean, this was my first one, so I wouldn't want to base it off of that. I would give it another shot. Because I did like some of the writing. Her writing was fine. I just didn't agree with some of the character. I just wasn't a fan of Ollie. Not her biggest fan at all. But I would
That's pretty much what I told Jessica too. I asked Jessica, I'm like, have you read Meagan Quinn before? Like, are all of her female characters going to be like this? Or is Ollie just unique and I just don't like her?
Right.
And so I actually have a couple Meagan Quinn books on my bookshelf from like book boxes that I've gotten that they've come with. And so I think I will try another one. Cause like you said, her writing is not bad. It's easy to read. And there were times where I was laughing.
Yeah.
And it was like things are going well, and then Ollie talks, and I'm like, ugh, and then like things will get better.
Yeah.
And then, like, so I'm hopeful that Ollie is just a character I just don't like, and that the other books would be much better.
I agree. I don't think that I would read one of the agitator books. I maybe would pick something else.
A different series, maybe, or I'm not gonna like ban like not read an author just off one book because like you said, the writing wasn't bad. It's just not my usual thing. So like I would probably read her again. It's just, am I really going to be diving into it anytime soon? Probably not. But I mean, I would read it again. It's just, it didn't flow with me. Like, I don't know. And that's what I felt like, oh, maybe it's me. Like maybe it's my preferences, but I'm glad to hear it's you guys too.
Yeah. And I agree with you guys. I would read her again, not in this series, obviously. But it's a good palate cleanser.
Yeah.
You know, and her, like you said, her writing wasn't bad. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it just didn't. Yeah, I was definitely ready to finish it and get into something darker. I was like, I need mafia.
Yeah.
I want mafia.
Yeah, exactly. Give me some mafia.
I went into mafia right after.
You did? Me too.
Yeah, I was like, I need some dark.
You know what we could read is Cora Riley has a new book and a new series coming out.
I just read. No, not that one.
No.
It was Bound by Love.
I'm
almost done.
The
series, yeah.
Okay, so you have to start the Kimura Chronicles now.
Oh, I will. Yeah. I'm reading.
Those are the best.
I'm reading so many mafia at the moment. I'm reading Cora Riley. I have Gianna Darling, and I'm reading Neva Altaj. Like,
I want to read those ones. Those are on my list.
Yeah, and they're pretty quick ones. They're short. Like they're quick.
Yeah.
First one.
But Cora has one coming out like within a month or so, and it's Irish.
And
mafia.
It looks so good.
Yeah, when that
I'm
comes
looking
out,
forward to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I didn't read like the Next Generation that she did because everybody basically slammed it. And I'm like, start something new, not tied to that. And maybe it'll be a fresher thing than tying it to the Next Generation of like you're already, you know.
Yeah, I've read, I think the first two in the Next Generation and the father, which are the same couple. And I can see where people were a little disappointed because it just kind of, I want to try the other ones though. But yeah, I really want to read this new one. I'm excited.
I really want to read it.
I haven't passed, I was reading Kimura Chronicles, but I stopped at Silvio's book because he was like really gross to me in the whole concept of that book. And it sounded like he was just like slimy. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to read this. And I read so many bad reviews and it like made me scared to read it. It's like been sitting on my AnyPlay forever to like listen to the audiobook. So I think maybe I'll force myself to read it and see if it's good because I'm coming in. Okay.
But I kind of like the asshole. I mean, I like the guy who's like this slimeball asshole who then redeems himself later. And
but
so
that's what she seemed like she was obsessed with him and he was just like kind of like
I mean,
you gotta
he's
keep
just
going.
young.
It sounds like you got to keep going, Amber.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
Now,
I'll do it.
I have not read. I started the last book in that series, which is Adamo's book.
Yeah.
And I've only got the first couple chapters in, and I stopped. And part of it is because the main female character, or heroine, is like they're chain smoking, and I was like.
Ew.
Yeah, it was just kind of a turn off for me. That's not they're just
like it's prevalent. Like it like stop talking about it and go about your business. Get on with it.
Like if you want to say that she does, then fine, she does, and then I can just forget about it if it's something that bothers me as I go. But it's constant. So I want to try it, but I didn't get very far into it yet. But I did read like all the other ones before there was audio. It was when they were coming, having to wait for the next one. So Yeah, and there weren't a lot of reviews at that time either, so I didn't have that skewing my judgment. So, yeah.
So I'm looking on her website, Cora Riley's, and I cannot find a date for the next book yet.
She's teasing it.
Yeah,
right now on Facebook.
I thought she came out with a date, but then like I feel like she took it back if she did. As I posted about it, and I was like, wait a minute, when is this coming?
Yeah, it was on her Facebook page. She was talking about this last week where she gave like a little snippet of it. So it's coming.
It is. I think it got pushed back a little bit too, but I haven't been too invested in it because I don't know if it was a part of like another storyline or another series, and I was like, wait, I haven't finished these yet, so
it's gonna be its own.
Invested, then
yeah, it's a new storyline, so that's where.
But I saw that what it was going to be around and the Irish and everything, and I'm like, oh my god,
yes,
and I love her writing. So I'm excited.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Are we ready to wrap it up, and then maybe we can talk about what book we want to do next and post about it?
Yeah. So we'll turn off the recording and then talk for a minute.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for our first live buddy read. I thought it was a blast. I loved it.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, we were super positive.
We were.
Sorry, Meagan.
Sorry, Meagan.
Sometimes it's good to rant, you know?
I like Silas.
Mandy and I are going to be walking
I
by
did
her
like
table.
Silas.
Yes, definitely. Mandy and I are going to be walking by her table like this week, like this weekend when we
When
see
you
her.
handed the book, oh, did you like it?
Or
I really love Silas.
check us out. We have a YouTube channel, like the person next door. And then she'll be like, oh, really? Oh, no, we don't. Nope.
No.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. We do.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.